Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while. Last time I needed a little bit of a break, mentally, spiritually, physically. I was exhausted. July's been it just started. It's already been a month. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you guys about my top 5 favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card stories. As you know, there's a story in everything. Yu-Gi-Oh is not an exception. However, for Yu-Gi-Oh story, it's something that we, as the players, we have to kind of piece together as we collect some more of the cards. And it can go anything from, if you're an OG, you should know the story of Gigo. Such a tongue twister, I swear. But, you know, the story of a little lizard man goes in, clicks up with the elemental charmers, eventually goes off on his own, does his own thing. And I said you have to piece this story together because Konami does not spell these things out for us, but they do give us information in the form of cards and illustrations where it kind of, if you put it in the right order, tells a story. So today I want to tell you about my top 5 favorite stories for Yu-Gi-Oh. So number 5, at least for my personal favorites, would be the story of the forbidden items. The Forbidden Chalice, Forbidden Lance, and I forget about the last one. Is it the Forbidden Dress? Yes, it is the Forbidden Dress. This is a story about a maiden, and she goes around collecting these forbidden items. However, she is not supposed to because they're in the name. Technically, they're forbidden. So, she does not listen, and the guy from like Solemn Warning comes over and gives her that. A solemn warning. Again, she doesn't listen, continues on. He catches her in the act, and this time he gives her a solemn scolding. And at the end, again, she tries to steal another thing. She gets caught one more time, and this time, instead of a solemn scolding, he gives her a solemn strike. Sends her down into the abyss, where she becomes the witch of something. She's like a witch, a nightmare witch or whatever. She ends up becoming like Dark Lord. After that, she goes back to enact her vengeance on the guy who did the solemn scolding, and she actually gets it. She ends up doing the witch's strike and ends up taking him down. Kind of enacting her vengeance and fully transforming into the Dark Lord that she was always supposed to be. Haha. What do I like that story? I don't know. It's kind of like greedy, kind of funny. There's a little bit of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. There's a little bit of a lesson to be had in there as well. Like the forbidden items for a reason, mainly because you're not supposed to have them. However, like her, there are some of us who we cannot help ourselves, and sometimes we need to have something, and we just need to have it by any means necessary. So, for me, that's my number 5. It's an easy story. It's not a super long one. I feel like at this point, the cards have been out for such a long time that it's a well-known story as well. So, we'll move on to number 4. Number 4 is the story of Alistair the Invoker. It's a young man who finds a tome, and in this tome, there's a bunch of ways of summoning creatures from other worlds, and if you mix it with certain elementals, the creature itself will take the property of that elemental. But every single one of these creatures, as they come into our world by Alistair, Alistair bringing them forward, they also take a piece of Alistair. Alistair himself is looking for power towards the end, and he ends up becoming like demonic Alistair, as you can see it in the cards. You can see his progression as to what happens to him with every single one of the invocations that he does. Because like I said, every single one of those takes a piece of him with him. Towards the end, Alistair loses himself into one of the invocations, and he becomes like a mad fiend, like a mad demon. At which point, Alistair's humanity attempts to resurface a little bit, and he manages to break the curse. However, he puts himself in kind of like a hibernation or a stasis chamber where he stays and imparts his knowledge up until the people who are in charge of the spell books, and he creates kind of like the first tower of the spellcasters, and that's where the spellcasters come to play. Honestly, it's a very convoluted story. Unlike The Witch, where it's very cut and dry, Alistair's is a story with many paths, a story with many roads, and they all kind of converge like their way into an ending, and that ending is basically him helping create the spellbook archetype as their own city, where they have their towers, they have their knowledge, they have everything there because of Alistair, who is still slumbering in his chamber. So that's why Alistair is number 4. It's a very sweet story. Now we're gonna get into the real good stuff with number 3. Number 3 is one that's very dear and near to me because it's my wife's first deck ever. She, in backstory to that, I wanted to start playing again Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I love the game, and I wanted somebody to play with me, so I dragged her into this. You can kind of tell that she's smiling as she's listening to me. But it was kind of like a learning experience. I asked her, like, what do you like? Do you like magicians? Do you like dragons? What is it that you're into? You like fictional characters, warriors, anime people? Because I feel like Konami and Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself have done a great building of different archetypes. So depending on that, you can actually kind of decide what you want to play and how you want to play it. There's so many ways of playing the game. There is no right or wrong way, unless you're trying to play competitively. Then there is a right or wrong way. However, with Yu-Gi-Oh, you can kind of go off what you like. My first deck was a Dark Magician deck. When I took my wife to look at cards and get her first deck, she chose the Ice Barrier deck. It's called the Freezing Chains, I believe. It was a really funny deck. People keep saying that ice barriers were the worst archetype ever, but to her it didn't matter because she ended up liking the ice barriers because of one simple thing, and that's because I was watching a YouTube video of the ice barriers and their lore. She kind of overheard it, paid attention to it, liked the archetype. And the story of the ice barriers is a story that kind of involves 3 other groups as well, like the Gustos, and I'm not even sure it's the Gustos. It's an archetype of air. Ice barriers would be the archetype of water. There's the fire ones, and there's the earth ones, and they all like kind of converge to fight this great danger in the form of the worms that are coming from space. However, the ice barriers themselves is what we want to talk about today, and that's because the ice barriers themselves have a very nomadic people. They kind of have their settlements, yes, but they're not like big cities or whatever. They're more in tune with their lands. So the ice barrier people, when they are threatened and faced with this like danger, they decide to start slowly letting some of their legendary beasts, like releasing from their seals and from the prisons where they've been keeping them, because they know that some of these legendary beasts have the ability to kind of just convert the earth to ice, like freeze it all together. And they know that if they let them go free, they won't be able to control them anymore. So they start with Bryanak, and Bryanak is strong to fight the upcoming menace of the worms, but they can't control them. So as Bryanak needs more power, and they realize that Bryanak's losing his fight, they decide that it's Gungnir's turn to let go, and so they release Gungnir. Then Gungnir does keep the worms at bay for a while. However, at the end, they have to release Trishula, the dragon of the ice barrier. And Trishula is just the end-all be-all for the ice barrier. That dragon is going to basically freeze over the world. And even though they know that this is a really big, a really real possibility for them, and they might lose a lot more than they gain, they decide that it's a risk worth taking. So the story about ice barriers is all about sacrifice. And it's all about, at least for me, it's all about looking towards a greater goal. It's about sacrificing you, the person, or you as in the thing that you want or you love, for a greater goal. It's a great story for me. If you have a chance to look up the lore video of it, go ahead. I am a very visual person, so a lore video for me is perfect. You might not be the same as me. You might like to read it. Always give it a read. And like I said, you can see the story develop in the cards. It's a very good story. It's very interesting. I love it. You might love it too. So why not share it with you guys? That was my number 3 pick. Number 2. Number 2 is something very dear to me. When I opened my first iPhone pack, a card kind of stood out to me. It was a simple monster, high defense, no attack. Its name was Scareclaw Acro. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is gonna be my archetype. I will play Scareclaw. Come to find out later, as I was collecting the cards, another card stood out to me in a tournament that I managed to pull. It was Visa Starfrost. As the months went by, I realized that Visa Starfrost was a traveler of sorts, and he traveled from planet to planet. Each planet kind of being a representation of a negative emotion. When he traveled to the Scareclaw planet, primitive planet Reichphobia, it's in the planet name itself, it's a planet of fear. Then he travels to a primitive planet, Perloreno, and that's the planet of, sadness, depression. And then he goes to the planet, I don't remember the name of the last one, it's like a Shira planet, but it's essentially it's the planet of anger. So as he travels from planet to planet, he kind of purifies every single planet of their negative emotion, be it fear, be it sadness, be it anger. He goes and he engages into these battles with the indigenous populations there, and he comes to find that there are also creatures like him, very much humanoid and very much with the same stat lines as him, that all have like similar characteristics, where he has the arm with the universe in it. They have something similar as well, and he engages into fights with them and either converts them or manages to subdue them and lock them away, get rid of them. So right now Visas is, the lore is not complete yet. We know that he is from a planet of like Manadome or Vanadium, where it's kind of like a Zen world, and basically his struggles with the Kashira, with the Scareclaw, with the Tearlaments, like there all been struggles out there that are kind of like him, bringing him into a full, complete being. So I'm very much looking forward to it, to seeing where Konami takes this whole story with Visa Starfrost. Visa Starfrost has been a great character. Please keep it up. Do not stop making lore for Visa Starfrost. I think it's gonna be a good one to watch, so try to get those cards, guys. And last one, number 1, honestly my all-time favorite one, is an archetype that is very dear to me and my wife. It is you guessed it, the Albaz archetype, with Branded, and with the story of girl meets dragon. Girl goes against her religion, against her principles, in order to protect this boy who transforms into a dragon, who comes in from a different universe. When she realizes that it's just a boy and it's not anything else, and she forsakes and leaves behind what she knows in order to go on an adventure with this boy and get him to safety. And the way they meet the Tri Brigade, they meet the Spriggans, and they try to combat this greater evil in the form of Albaz and the Bystials, Aluber and the Bystials, who are all coming with the Despia to try and take over their little world, using the power of the brands, the red brand and the white brand. Aluber plans of, manipulating, destroying, and basically just taking everything for himself, because he is that greedy dictator who just wants all the power. But you find that as this boy grows and matures and travels with this girl, they both very much deeply care for each other. They both will sacrifice a lot to get to the end, and there's going to be twists and turns because I don't want to give it all away, but it is a great story. The story of Albaz has everything from danger to drama to romance to everything. And if you piece it slowly together with the cards, you'll be able to see that it's not over just yet. Even though it seems like it got to like the first end, I feel like there's some strands here and there where they can pull. And I, for one, am a big fan of this story, so I really hope that some of you do agree with me on this, and we kind of all strive to let Konami know, hey, We don't want this story to be over yet. Please let it continue. Anyway, that was the end of my top 5 picks for the top best stories in Yu-Gi-Oh! What are some of yours? Please let me know in the comments down below. I hope you all missed me last week. Like I said, I just needed a little bit of break. Thank you very much for letting me have that break. Don't think that I did not miss you, because I did. It's always a little bit different, but sometimes when you've been doing something repeatedly for so many months, you need a de-stressor, a mental break. All right, that is all, my friends, from me. Hope to see you soon. Remember, Saturdays at 7. And let's not wait for it to be a good day. Let's make it a good day. Take care. Bye.